Alright YouTubers, what is happening? We got a new knife. It's the Spyderco Brouwer. The newest and latest and greatest from Spyderco for 2018. And I always liked this design when it first came out, when it was introduced. I thought, ooh, it's a small titanium frame lock with the G10 show side. I liked everything about it. But one thing that was holding me back on this was the price point, and then the major thing here was this thing right here. This is your standard Spyderco pocket clip you'd find like on the Para 2, Para 3. It's gigantic for this knife. I mean, look at the size of this frame lock, where this clip would go. It takes up more than half, 3/4 of the knife. That had to go immediately. There's no way I was going to get this knife with this. It would first of all carry really, really high. And secondly, it just looked ridiculous. It was just like an afterthought. Like, hey, let's just slap one of our standard clips on there and call it a day. It's kind of lazy. I think the wire clip would have been a better choice for sure. Wire clip would have been a better choice. But anyway, so I picked this up from Blade HQ along with a Lynch Northwest pocket clip. He is the innovative. Casey's a great guy, and he innovated this pocket clip, this deep carry for the Spydercos. There's been a few companies that have copied him and such, but this one matched the, it's just a stonewashed titanium clip. It matched this frame lock like perfectly, so as you can see. So huge improvement. Makes the knife much better, much better. So let's talk a little bit about the specs on this guy. Before I do that, I'm going to just do a few size comparisons here. My mat's getting trashed. I should stop sharpening knives on it. Let's do the one that I think that most people are going to go with, is the Spyderco, or the Chris Reeve Sebenza. As you can see here, it's a very similar size knife. They're almost identical. They're very similar in materials and blade steels, etc. Another one I did a picture of on Instagram. I filmed me there. The Hinder Slippy. It's a little bit larger knife, but not much. Very similar in size. You do have a little bit more handle on the Slippy. The Wisp is going to be a titch bigger. The Rectifier would have been a better knife to compare it to. It's a very similar knife, but actually just had a big knife sale, and that's one of the ones that sold pretty quick. I was hoping it kind of wouldn't, so I could do a comparison video, but that's okay. But the Wisp is a little bit larger too, so it's definitely more small Sebenza size. If you don't like the small Sebenza size, it's probably too small for you. Alright. Basic specs on this guy. You have an overall length of 6.77 inches. Your blade length is 2.77. Cutting edge is 2.325 with this massive choil here. You have a blade width of 0.875, which I really like about this knife. 0.1 thickness in the blade stock. You have CPM S30V. Drop point, kind of a spear point, more of a, not a traditional Spyderco blade, which I do like too. Full flat ground on this with a satin finish. And you have a 4-inch handle length with a width of 1 inch with the knife closed. And then the thickness is only 0.4, so it's thin, slim, and 2.8 ounces. It's light. It checks a ton of boxes for me, right? Ton of boxes. This is kind of my EDC that I like to carry. So, first impressions of the knife. Just got it yesterday, so this is just going to be a first impressions video. I may actually disassemble it too here. Out of the box, I immediately put the clip on. That was the first thing that had to go, and that made a big difference. Had I not been able to buy the clip with the knife, I probably wouldn't have bought the knife. I probably would have just been like, no, not going to buy it. But the clip came with it, or not came with it, but it was an $18 purchase, so it didn't break the bank by any stretch of the imagination. And it makes the knife 10 times more usable. Now, when I first saw this, I thought, oh, that's great. They went with just a solid G10 slab with the titanium slab, but there's actually a liner in there, and it's very thin, and it's skeletonized, but they could have actually even made this knife even lighter. Now, I don't mind that they put the liner in there because they did it so thin, and because it's skeletonized and everything, so it didn't add any necessary weight, really, so it's okay. The blade shape I really like. I mentioned this because it's most Spydercos for me. I've never been a big fan of the hump of the Spyderco because of the whole, like the Para 2, Para 3, which I've tried so many Para 3s, and I want to love that knife, but the thing that kills me on it is it has that big hump right here, and it makes it so it carries just so wide in the pocket, and I like a lot slimmer knife. So this I saw, I was like, you know what? The Spidey hole typically makes the knife the blade a little wider, the profile when it's shut wider. But because they did this typical or more traditional drop point, kind of spear point blade shape, and they put the hole where they did, and they didn't add that hump, makes it work. And I love the Spidey hole for deployment. It works great. You can middle finger flick this guy, as I failed the first time. I don't know why that happened. There's not a lot of, there's enough hole there with the lock bar, and they've kind of even cut out the lock bar here to make that hole work, which was a great design, by the way. So yeah, you can middle finger flick it, you can slow roll it, and you can obviously use your thumb in the hole. So let's, the action on the knife isn't fantastic out of the box. It's definitely breaking in, and I thought, let's see, these are T6. This is going to probably be a T8. I've thought about just taking it apart, cleaning it up, adding some lube of some sort, and I'm sure it'll improve dramatically. Assuming it's going to be a T8, but let's try. Yes, it is. So I thought about even just kind of loose. Wow, that is tight. They have got that sucker on there tight. But I loosened the pivot a little bit, and that actually helped. Yeah, but now I got blade play. Can't be having that. Sorry, I'm doing this off camera. That's stupid of me. It's such a habit. There we go. Yeah, that's a lot better. So, still get a little bit of play. So you got to kind of tune the action a little bit. It came out of the box kind of stiff. It was breaking in pretty well. See there, it's a little too stiff. So let's back that out. Titch. Okay, so I've got no play, and it's pretty smooth now. Yeah, so that's about where you want it. So I actually don't even think I need to take this one apart because it's pretty much just dropping for me now. I still may take it apart and clean it. It's on phosphorus bronze washers, it looks like. Yeah, what the heck. Spyderco doesn't love you to do this, but whatever. For the sake of science in this video, we will take it apart. Sorry, this feels kind of rambly, but that's alright. So there's been a little bit of a content drought on the channel, and I apologize. I did a video recently with the Patreon, just because I just haven't had the funds to purchase the knives for the videos. That's just the reality of the way things are working on YouTube these days. So it kind of sucks, but I do have some new ones coming in. Some like mass drop pre-order knives, like the Terzula Compact will be here soon. Should have been here already, but FedEx Smart Post for the loss. So there's your G10 scale. You got your liner here. It has tons of oil on it. This is probably the culprit here of the action being so crappy. It's not crappy, but it's just not as good as it can be. They just way over oil these knives, and they come from overseas. This is a Taiwanese made Spyderco. In case I didn't mention that. Wow, they really pressed that lanyard hole in there too. Or lanyard tube, I should say. That could be troublesome. Trying to keep the edge away from my finger. Pulling this apart is being somewhat problematic. That is freaking just in there, man. Holy cow. Yeah, I mean, look how deeply pressed in that lanyard tube is to the liner. You can get it off, it's just going to be a bear, I feel. But let's just slide that blade out. Oh, teeny little washers, too. teeny little washers that I just dropped. And lost one of them. Shiz. Love when that happens. Whew, crisis averted. We found this, the teeny little washer. Hallelujah. Jeez Louise. Why do they make them so small? It is a small knife, I guess. So phosphorus bronze, as we thought. Just get those kind of wiped up. You know, one little trick I used to do back in the day. Take a strop. Take your washer. Just kind of lightly polish it a little bit. You can do more. It's just got some green compound on there. But that could help smooth out the action as well if you're on a phosphorus bronze knife. Like this. Just a little polish, not a lot. You can do more. I'm just going to do a little bit, see how that works. Yeah, okay, then you got your frame lock with your ginormous lock bar insert. It looks like it's adjustable though. You got a couple different screws, it's removable, and probably used as an over travel stop as well. Which, okay, so that's just, okay, that came off a lot easier now. Oof. So, got your liner. Liner had a bunch of crap on it too, so basically just had to clean this guy up. Where's my Q-tips at? That one's filthy, so that needs to be thrown away. Pop the pivot out. It looks like there is a support washer on the lock bar side right there. It has lots of oil on it, but not anywhere else. Oh wait, that's not a washer. It's just cut out in the frame. There you go. Alright, let's put her back together. Now on washer knives, I like to use Chris Reeve grease, not nano oil. I need to try that new, that freaking pivot is just nasty too. God, yeah, this thing was gummed up like crazy. Let's give her a quick wipe down though. So you got to make sure when you put that in, that pivot matches that. Okay. Alright, so, and so yeah, instead of nano oil, I'm going to use some Chris Reeve. I like this for washer knives better than I do nano oil. Just a preference thing. Nano oil probably works just fine. Now I need to try that new knife pivot lube that's out. That's one I really need to try. If you guys have done videos on it and I just haven't picked any up because I have so much other stuff that it's not really a necessity at the moment. Okay, so your stop pin is built into the blade. It's pressed in there. That's interesting. Okay, let's do some more this goodness right here. That's probably too much, honestly. I usually err on the side of less is more with lube. Especially with these little teeny washers. I need to get me some more Q-tips in here. Alright. Let's put our liner back on. Just kind of pops in. That's nice. There's scale. Start with the body screws, the T6. So typical Tai Chung Spyderco construction. Good, really good. Not like Chris Reeve good or Hinder good as far as how it's put together, but good. Better than your Golden Colorados, I think, personally. That's just my opinion, though. Alright, let's get this action dialed in, centering. Centering is good. Actually, it's a little stiff. Back that out. Yeah, that's about what it came like out of the box. Once we get that grease going, doing its job. Yep, already better. It's not gonna fall shut, I don't think anytime soon, but it's gonna break in, and that's way better than normal, than it came from the factory. It's pretty. You can see, you saw how gummed up it was. So, all right, guys, did a quick disassembly video for you. Did a first impressions. I like it. I've been carrying it since I got it, which isn't a ton of time. We're talking 24 hours here. I like the size. I like a lot of the things they did differently on this knife than other Spydercos, minus the pocket clip. That was a fail, but luckily we have a nice aftermarket support. One thing I don't like is the gigantic choil here. So let's talk about ergonomics. The ergonomics are great. Feels great in the hand. Very similar to a small Sabenza, like you saw in size. I do like that it has a choil, but at the same time it takes a lot of the blade length away, and it's not really necessary. You have a good enough handle here. It's a smaller knife. You have enough handle here to use. You don't really need this choil. It's kind of like the hinder slip joint, where you have enough handle, don't really need the choil, but the choil is quite a bit smaller on this knife too, but it's still usable as a finger choil. So in comparison, look at the two sizes of the choils. This is about, much smaller than on the Brouwer, so I think they could have gone a little easier on the choil on this one. I do like how there's a cutout here on the G10 for your thumb hole. Like I said, they did the same kind of thing. They contoured the frame lock so you could use the Spidey flick. So they really thought it through, which is nice. Alright guys, I think that's going to wrap up the video. A little disassembly, a little first impressions. Definitely a lot better on the action now that I've taken it apart. Put some lube on there, cleaned it up a little bit. I'm going to give it, another couple weeks of carry just before I do a final thoughts video on it. But first impressions are pretty good. There's a few things that you need to change, and let's talk about value real quick before we end the video. What compares? I'm going to bring this 940 out. Now it's not, obviously, this is a more expensive 940 because it's 20 CV and has, the C-Tech and it's a limited run. But a standard 940 in aluminum, or even the 940-2 in G10, are going to be about the same price. A lot of people were getting up in arms about this as far as price-wise, and I thought about that, and I was like, well, a 940 is about 170 bucks, and you're getting aluminum. Same blade steel. This has got a titanium frame lock with G10. It's not that bad of a price, honestly. I would say one knife that really competes with it in this price range that I think is a little better is the Wii Rectifier. It has S35 yen steel, it has a flipper and thumb hole deployment, it has a titanium frame lock as well, and I would say fit and finish are just as good, if not better. And it has nuts on bearings, and it came with a titanium pocket clip and hardware, so it's about the same price as the... Actually, it may even be less expensive. Let me check real quick. But I wish I would have had it for this video. It's one I've, $144.50, so it's actually 30 bucks less than this, and you get very, very similar. You get the G10 show side, titanium scale, a little bit better blade steel. That's arguable, though. They're very, very similar. Better pod clip, didn't have to spend an extra 18 bucks. I mean, out the door, I'm about 200 bucks into this knife. So for 60 bucks less, you can get that Wii, and I think I would probably choose that. I don't know. The jury's not out, but that's just one competitive offering along with the 940 that came to mind. A lot of people are going to compare it to the Sabenza, and because it's a titanium frame lock, but it's, you know, not really, it's size-wise similar and such, but it's not in the same ballpark, in my opinion, as the Sebenzas are. So that's just my thought. But, you know, I'm a big Sebenza fan, so take that for a grain of salt. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up the video. Any questions or comments, leave them down below. See you next time.